Which snake could crush a human? Steve Backshaw answers your questions.
So the Burmese python is a constrictor. It has the ability to squeeze and squash the life out of its prey. And certainly if this was a wild...
What's the PSI on this bad boy, eh? You think like a Brian Shaw or like a World's Strongest Man could like resist like a python or a boa constrictor? Like if they go and just hard press that out, there's got to be one guy that could resist it. What's the constricting PSI of a python? I don't know which is bigger, probably a boa constrictor. 14 PSI? Is that a lot? I don't know the data on what would kill a human. A green anaconda can have 90 PSI, 6 times stronger than a python. 14 PSI doesn't seem like that hard to resist, you know? Can a python constrict a human? Yes. They could kill you and have you have a heart attack in minutes. Then why does this guy have it currently wrapping around his entire body?
Wild snake. I wouldn't be able to hold one this size on my own. I wouldn't be able to restrain it on my own. I'd need help. A snake of this size could eat and swallow in one go without taking bites out of it a small deer.
What? I know they can like unlock their jaw and swallow something pretty big, but you're telling me that guy with the head of a baseball is gonna swallow an entire deer? You ever seen a video where they swallow an alligator? This might be pretty disturbing, so I'm gonna throw up a trigger warning. I don't know if it's... I think it might be a python eating an alligator. Oh, an alive alligator. Okay, that's its legs. It's just throating the entire fucking alligator. There's its tail. I feel like this is a much larger... This is a giant python, though. How does he digest it, though? Like, wouldn't it be alive in his stomach for a while? Like, it's living while he just ate that. And now it just sits like a brick. He got like 0 mobility now. Like if he just ate the alligator, I feel like you'd walk up to the python and punch it. Like he's not going to chase you. He's got a fucking 300-pound alligator in his stomach. Yeah, I know the acid breaks it down, but I'm like, this is a scaly alligator. How strong is the acid in a snake's stomach?
Hello, my name is Steve Backshaw. I am a zoologist and I am here to be subjected to the honesty box. Which animal would best survive a zombie apocalypse?
Ooh. Never thought about this. Now, is the zombie apocalypse a human zombie apocalypse, or all animals are, like, just turning into zombies? An ant? Yeah. An insect? Is an insect an animal? No. Isn't an insect a part... An insect isn't a part of the animal kingdom, right? It's a bug. Oh, insects are animals. But they're in the side branch of invertebrates called Phylum Arthropoda. Biology went over my head. Anyways, yeah, an ant would be pretty fire. I was going to say a polar bear. Something that's where it's like really cold. So, and it's just a big animal. It's not really going to get, you know, fucked up.
The creature that is usually said to be the most hardy and the most robust is this. So this is a cockroach. There are several thousand different species.
Is it true that they could survive a nuclear blast?
And this is a legendarily tough creature. There's lots of different kinds. This one...
I think it's the radiation of nuclear blast. I think if you dropped a nuke right on top of a fucking cockroach, Chad, it's getting incinerated. They cannot survive a direct nuclear blast. I'm going to start spreading that misinformation. Dude, did you hear cockroaches could survive a direct nuke? Like, if it hit that... Dude, they're like super creatures. They're highly resistant to radiation. So, like, they could survive nuclear fallout. My friends and I constantly send each other money on Cash App for varying things. And I always have an amount of money that's sitting in there that I wish I could spend at a store, but I don't want to have to transfer it out of Cash App into a bank so that I could use it on a card in a place of business. And that is where the Cash App debit card comes into play. The customizable Cash App debit card can be customized to your individual creative needs. If you want it to glow in the dark, you can have it glow in the dark. And it also provides exclusive discounts on things that you're probably getting every day. Coffee, food delivery, video games, and more. And if you're also a fan of concerts, you can get exclusive pre-sale ticket access with the Cash App debit card to some of your favorite artists like Sabrina Carpenter, Kendrick Lamar, SZA, Drake, and more. There's also no hidden fees or minimum monthly balance requirements. You could also customize the card really easy on your app, ship it right to your door, and get to using it right away. And for a limited time only, new Cash App customers over the age of 18 can earn $10 if they use code CASH10 at profile at sign up and send $5 to a friend or more within the first 14 days. And if you're 13 to 17, request a parent or guardian sponsored account, use code CASH10 at profile at sign up, get $10 dropped into your account when you order and activate a Cash App card, and send $5 to a friend or more within the first 14 days. Terms apply. Thank you to Cash App for sponsoring this video, and let's get back into it.
Here lives in the forest of Madagascar. I have seen one have its head ripped off by a gecko and then get up and run away without its head. That really does happen. Some cockroaches.
How? Where's its consciousness? Got up and run away like a chicken, or it regrew its head?
Cockroaches are extraordinary pests. They can spread diseases. They are very associated with dirt and grime. Not this one. This is an incredibly valuable animal. So these will chew up things like old rotting fruit and logs and turn them into nutrient-rich soil. Some people get
poop.
the creeps when they look at cockroaches because, you know, some of them are pretty grotty.
Could it actually survive a nuclear attack?
Certainly they are able to withstand, very high temperatures, very low temperatures, and they can go for long periods of time without food. So they'd be a good candidate, but near the epicenter of a nuclear explosion, nothing will survive.
I don't know. Very high temperatures, bro. They could survive like the desert. They're not living in like 250 degrees. They're not like sitting in an oven and chilling. You light it on fire, it's dead.
What is the closest to death you've been with an animal? I think the closest I've come was diving with crocodiles in the Okavango Delta in Botswana, swimming into a pool and seeing.
Why are we doing that? Is there like a research purpose for that? Aren't crocodiles known to be like one of the only animals that actually proactively hunts humans? Like it's misinformation that sharks will try and kill humans. They have eaten humans, but for the most part, sharks misidentify you, something bite you, realize you're not what they thought you were, and then leave. Crocodiles will like hunt you and like scope out your movement patterns for days, wait for you to go near the water, and then swallow your kid. Kill your kid. Or you. Polar bears do too, yeah. Polar bears, are there any other animals that like hunt humans? Polar bears, crocodiles, maybe an alligator. I know the difference between an alligator and a crocodile, but like I would definitely misidentify one as the other. Hippos? Hippos don't hunt humans. Hippos don't eat humans. They're just very territorial. A hippo will just bite you, mangle your body, and then leave you. They won't eat you. They'll just fuck you up. They'll curb stomp you and then leave you on the side of the road. They're not going to eat your body.
Cool. And turning around to my cameraman and going, these look like the footprints of a hippo. And to encounter one here would be catastrophic. And seeing his eyes just go like this, like saucers. And I turned around and right there next to me was a hippo on the bottom. And retrospectively, looking back at it, you could have tossed a coin as to whether we lived or died in that moment. And I think the only reason that we didn't get attacked is because that hippo had never seen a human diver before and was probably just as confused as we were. But yeah, hippos are a nightmare animal and the one that you least like to be up close to.
Bro, because you can't really dodge them. You know what I mean? Like, say you got a hippo running at you, they're fat. Okay, underwater, they just run on the ground because they can't swim, so they're faster than you. And then if you're on land and you're running, they're so, like, you can't, its mouth is so big that you can't, like, 360 it, right? You couldn't, like, cross it up. Pull it up? No, you're not going to be able to do that because it's going to run at you and it's going to open its mouth and it's just going to grasp any part of your body that it gets. And then you're fucked. I feel like, could you jump on its back? But they're real slippery. Chat, you get one medieval weapon. I asked my friend this the other day. You get one medieval weapon, and I used it with a bear, but let's say a hippo. One medieval weapon pre-guns to kill a hippo. What are you using? I'm using, like, a heavy-duty crossbow. Like, not a spear. You're fucked. Maybe a spear maybe against, like, a bear A hippo? That's doing nothing. I'm banking that a catapult. You get one shot and you're dead. Yeah, I'm going like heavy-duty crossbow, and I'm just banking that I headshot it with like a metal, like a sharp metal fucking arrow.
Which came first, snakes
An axe. You're not even going to dent its fat.
or lizards? Well, that's a great question, and one that modern science can address when you look at certain kinds of snakes. So the lizards were first, and the way that we know that is that when you look at some kinds of snakes, you'll see that they have these.
Brother, I ain't need to be knowing which came first. As you can see, they have these. Imagine this motherfucker, but you cut off his legs. That's a snake. Lizards came first. They lost the legs. You ain't growing a leg, you're losing a leg, right? Like a whale. You chop its legs off, it's literally a... What? If you chop this thing's legs off and then edited it so it just looked like the rest of its body, I would be like, this is just a weird-looking snake.
See that they have these back limbs still attached to the rear part of their skeleton, even though now they are legless. So it's kind of a throwback to times when they would have moved using legs. But with a largely terrestrial or climbing lifestyle, they worked out that they could move by slithering, and actually the legs were just an encumbrance, so they got rid of them. So yeah, the lizards would have been around.
Bro, I'm not gonna lie. Do you kind of not understand how a snake moves? Like, I understand it, like, sits in a rotated pattern and it flexes parts of its body to, like, maneuver on the ground. But how do they move fast? Like, I feel like that's a very inefficient way of moving. Even in water. Like, they're swimming. They don't have, like, their tail, like, they're not kicking. They just, like, slither on the water fast as shit.
Before the snakes were. This is a blue-tongued skink, and he got that name because he's got a blue tongue and he's a skink.
Do they use their tongues for anything?
I'm starting to think this guy's not an expert on these reptiles. I feel like he's just kind of freeballing these questions right now.
The tongue is probably a signal, so it's almost certainly as a display to other animals that could be predators, because it's surprising, it's not what you expect to see, and or a signal to other members of the same species as a display, as a sort of come hither kind of thing that, you know, brings out the randy side in other blue-tongued skinks. Which animal?
I have a disdain towards cold-blooded animals. I think they're below us. Just my take. Why? I mean, you could say it's speciesist. That's racist. It's not racist, it's speciesist. I think cold-blooded animals suck. They can't regulate their own body temperature. They need to lay out, and they have to rely, dude, they're so... that in any natural disaster, that's why the dinosaurs died, or the early dinosaurs died. Not, I mean, like, mammals were small mammals after the asteroid hit. I'm saying not like 60 million years ago. If you're going like 400 million years ago, back when there were like a lot of cold-blooded animals, they all died off because they just got skill diffed by anything that was able to like do shit at night. Like, they just get eepy and they can't move because they can't regulate their body temperature. It's cool to see, but you ever in like a tropical environment, like say, like even if you're in like Florida, you see like a lizard on a rock like this. That motherfucker's trying to recharge his battery. Because he actually can't do anything.
Or would you lock in a room with your worst enemy? I don't have any enemies. I'm a really nice guy.
What animal would I lock in a room with my worst enemy? The worst, like, what's like the scariest animal? A polar bear. A fucking polar bear. No. Oh my God. A Komodo dragon? One of these fuckers. Holy. They're kind of like smaller, so you might not be like as afraid of them, but they have like horrible bacteria in their mouth, and they're so dangerous. A chimp? A hippo. Okay, well, how are you getting a hippo in a room?
But what animal would I lock in a room with them? A honey badger. I'd do a honey badger, and I'd smear them in honey beforehand. How about that? Honey badgers are amazing. They're in the Guinness Book of Animal Records as being the most aggressive animal on the planet.
He said he would put somebody in a room with a honey badger out of any animal you could fucking put somebody in a room with to kill them. Really?
And they're only about that sort of size, and yet they have been seen driving lions off their kill. Not a lion, lions, plural. They have so much attitude, and yeah, they're absolutely terrifying. So yeah, I would subject my worst enemy to death by honey badger.
That would be a worse way to die. It'd be a slow death.
All spiders venomous? That's a complicated question because there are at least 50,000 different kinds of spiders. They're one of the most diverse of all animal groups. Probably the best known would be something like
Tarantula.
this. So this is a Chilean rose tarantula, and it's big, scary looking and hairy, and it does absolutely have venom. Although
I've eaten one of those. Dried. Not good.
it's not particularly toxic. It's certainly not as toxic as you get from the funnel webs, the redbacks, the Brazilian wandering spiders, you know, the ones that have really pokey, toxic venom. Of the 50,000 odd different species of spiders, only a handful are not venomous, and only a handful can harm us as human beings. Generally speaking, spiders are one of the most important of all animals, and certainly the
I know people say that, and I'm still just going to have the take. If you're inside as a bug, you're dead. If you're outside, I let you be. If I see a spider outside, even if it scares me, I'm not killing it. If you're inside, trespassing, dead, dead, ant, fly, stink bug, anything. Didn't you pee on anthills? Bro, when I was like 5.
If we didn't have spiders, then those things would go absolutely rampant and completely destroy our world. So we completely rely on creatures like this, but at the same time, we're really frightened of them, which kind of doesn't make any sense. Oh, that's cool, look at that. So as this spider is moving across my hands, it's leaving behind it a trail of silk, but it can use that to follow its way back to, in the wild, its burrow, which is where it has sanctuary. What's the worst bite or sting?
How long do tarantulas live? Let's take a guess. 8 years. What? Nah, that's fucking crazy. Okay, I can't get that mad about this. Female tarantulas commonly live 15 to 30 years in captivity. Males only live 3 to 7. Dude, that sucks. That sucks.
Thing you've received. That is quite a tough call to make.
God, can guys get a win for once? Jeez.
I can say the most painful by
Oh my God.
far is from the bullet ant.
Once again, the guys, once again.
So most
Sorry,
painful.
I have no idea what he's answering right now. Oh, the worst bite sting you've ever received. Coyote Peterson, almost fucking looked like he was dying on camera from the bullet ant.
That is quite a tough call to make. I can say the most painful by far is from the bullet ant. So I did a ritual with the Sateremawe tribe in Brazil in about 15 years ago now, where the young boys, to transition to adulthood, put their hands into a pair of gloves that are interlaced with bullet ants, the world's most painful stinging insect. They're called bullet ants because one single sting feels like being shot. So you put the gloves on and you dance for about 15 minutes or so, being stung over and
15 minutes with the gloves on? Bro, you pull your hands out, they're just fucking swollen 4 times the size.
over and over to the hands until you're overcome with overwhelming pain. And if you can withstand it, then you've gained the ability to become an adult.
All right, what happens if you fail? Do you have to like read, is this like a driver's license? Like if you fail, there has to have been somebody that's failed. It's like, oh, you're not a man yet, and then you have like, 3 months later you could do it again.
Say an adult, not a man. They explained to me that this was absolutely open to the young girls to do if they wanted to, but they never do because they think it's stupid.
It is fucking stupid. I mean, what? You're like purposefully subjecting. It's a cool tradition, but like I get the women being like, why would I want to do that? It's like a tradition, but also of peer pressure. Because like if you're a man in that society, you're a loser if you don't do it. Right? Like you're a pussy if you don't do it. So when they're like, hey, the women can do it, it's like, no, let's not start this. No, let's not start that, because then it becomes a peer pressure thing for them to do it.
What's the longest snake? Sensational question.
A boa constrictor.
And oh yeah,
We just have that on hand.
Yes, bring it on. So this is a Burmese python, and it's one of the true giant snakes. Amongst those, you've got the reticulated python, which is probably the longest, and the green anaconda, which is the heaviest.
Dude, it would be low-key badass to own a snake, man. Don't you only have to feed them like once a week too? I know you gotta take care of them, but don't you have to, like some snakes you just fucking throw like a rat in there once in a while. It eats like once a week or some shit.
Bodied. But the Burmese is an absolute giant. It's also one of the most overwhelming of all snakes. So this snake has escaped or been released in the Florida Everglades and is completely taking over. It's just eating everything. And now all of a sudden, the very biggest Burmese pythons found in the world are being found in Florida, just outside Disney World. So the Burmese python is a constrictor. It has the ability to squeeze and squash the life out of its prey. And certainly if this was a wild snake, I wouldn't be able to hold one this size on my own. I wouldn't be able to restrain it on my own. I'd need help. And once it starts getting much bigger than this, it would be capable of incapacitating a human being, although that very, very rarely happens. So the biggest snakes now, the reticulated python and the anaconda, can get on for 8 meters in length. There's been for a very, very long time a goal, a target of finding the first ever wild 30-foot long snake. That still hasn't yet happened, but they could well be out there somewhere. This is plenty big enough for one person to have.
Imagine a kid outside of Disney World seeing one of these things. Bro, outside of Disney World, there was a kid that got eaten by like a fucking crocodile, and then they had to shut down the river and like relocate them.
Absolutely magnificent. A snake of this size.
Disney World's literally in like swampland.
Could, unbelievably, eat and swallow in one go without taking bites out of it a small deer, but other very big snakes.
Wow!
Like anacondas, can feed on decent-sized crocodiles. You know, they can eat just about anything. They can...
Can they choke? How are they breathing? Do they have... Is this like their nostril? I'm assuming their like respiratory system's a lot different because like this is probably...
They can swallow in one go. And they have the ability to stretch their jaws around their prey and then work their head gently down it so they can swallow it in one go. And then if it's really big, they might take several weeks digesting it. Absolutely amazing. So we go back to the question before.
But that is kind of crazy, though, that, like, they really only need to eat once in a while. Like, they get one big kill, they swallow it instantly, and then they could just kind of, like, ride that for a while.
About whether snakes or lizards came first. So, there, alongside the
Oh, my God. Is that like its ball sack or something, bro? What are you about to show me?
cloaca, you see those two spikes there? Those claws? So those are the remnants of the pelvic girdle. So way back in prehistory, the ancestor of this snake would have had both a pelvis and legs, and that's a remnant of it. And that is the proof that lizards or legged creatures came before or were the ancestors of snakes. What are you doing down there?
Sorry,
Oh, well, evolution isn't real, so... No, that's just a fluke they put there to trick us.
light.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's a hoax, like the moon landing,
I don't know how
the Egyptian pyramids, you know,
to unrestrict.
the earth is round.
What is the most fascinating animal you've studied? The orca, or killer whale. There is so...
I love learning about killer whales, bro. I see TikToks of them all the time being, like, curious, looking at, like, people in boats. It's kind of scary, because they kind of approach you like they're about to kill you, but then they kind of just, like, bob their head up and look at you, then go back down. Only animal outside of humans with a fashion trend. Look up orca whale salmon hat.
About orca. They have the biggest brains. They are the most communicative. They have the most different kinds of society and community. They are able to be creative about their hunting methods. They're coming up with new strategies all the time. They are just utterly transfixing. And if I spent the rest of my career doing nothing but filming orca, I would still be learning something new every day. What is an amphibian? Well, that is
Yeah, let me take this one for you, Steve. An amphibian is a creature that is both on land and in the water. Think of like Michael Phelps or somebody along those lines. Bit of an amphibious creature, right? Somebody that's able to, maybe like a frog would be an amphibian.
is an animal group that contains the toads, frogs, salamanders, newts, caecilians, and this
Sicilians, like Italian people?
extraordinary giant African bullfrog. Look at the
I might be part amphibious.
size of him. The giant African bullfrog, quite apart from being one of the most awesome looking creatures on the planet, is a
Not funny. You're a vibe killer.
tremendous predator. And when they swallow, they use their eyeballs to push their food back into their mouths. So all amphibians have the ability to be amphibious, that is to move between the water and the land and to live out parts of their life cycle in either of those environments. And that makes them very adaptable, but it also makes them very vulnerable because it means that changes in just one of those two habitats could lead to a massive decline in their numbers. And that's certainly what's happened with frogs in recent years. They're one of the most
It's because I'm not raising the tadpoles like I used to. Told y'all about that. Used to raise tadpoles. I upped the numbers of the amount of frogs that were in existence back when I was there. Survival rate was through the roof. Didn't you kill them? I had one bad. Okay. We lost some in the process, but I was a kid and I had bought a tadpole sanctuary. A lot of them did get stuck in this side barrier and they got crushed. But
the best way to defend yourself.
They had a higher survival rate with me than in the wild. And then I released them into the wild.
Against a bear in the wild. It depends on the kind of bear. So if you are unlucky enough to come into contact with a polar bear in the wild, then unless you have a deterrent, you are stuffed. Because a polar bear is a wholly predatory mammal that will hunt, kill, and eat a human being given the chance. So unless you've got
if I'm anywhere where I'm stumbling upon a polar bear in the wild, I'm bringing like an actual Uzi. I'm bringing a submachine gun. Actually, no, I'm bringing a fucking 12 gauge or a 20 gauge. Fucking buckshot rounds.
Air spray or some serious deterrent.
Not no damn rifle. I'm bringing a shotgun.
Then you're a big.
Yeah, no, you're not. Yes, I am. I think people that probably live near polar bear like territory have to carry guns with them.
Trouble. For the most part, grizzlies and black.
A fucking Mossberg. I got a full auto Benelli on me, just wandering the woods, waiting for. But you know they might just run at me. Might not be able to pull it out in time.
Bears will not attack a human being, but if they do, then with grizzlies you're supposed to lie down and act dead, and with black bears you're supposed to fight back. Either way.
See, here's the thing that I'll tell you though: black bears could be brown, and brown bears could be like semi-black. I went hiking one time and I was reading something and it was showing the different types of bears, and a black bear can literally look brown. It is the size of them that matters. So it's not actually like most people go black bear fight back, brown bear lie down, but you might actually see a brown bear and go, let me lie down. Turns out it's a black bear and you just misidentified it because its skin was, or its fucking hair was brown. But it's a black bear.
If they really, really want
to... body shape and size.
Want to get you, you know, they're quicker than you, they can climb faster than you, they're bigger, they're heavier, they're stronger, they're more aggressive, they've got bigger teeth, bigger claws. I mean, you just kind of got to pray it doesn't happen, really. Is it true you should run away from crocodiles in zigzags? To be honest, you would rarely have to run away from a crocodile. If you're on land, then you can go faster than they can, with the possible exception of something like the Johnston's freshwater crocodile, which is...
I think the average human is not escaping a crocodile, brother. Have you ever seen the videos of American tourists try to get away from Cabo waves, where they just perpetually fall over and over again, and they have the urgency of a snail? Clueless, right? I think a crocodile pulls up on like an average person from Florida. Actually, a person from Florida is probably prepared. An average person from, like, Nebraska, dead.
Pretty rapid and can gallop. You're big crocs, a salty, a Nile crocodile, a mugger, something that's going to be big enough to eat you on land, you should be able to get away from it. The zigzag thing, I mean, it could work, but then if they're going in a straight line and you run off to one side and then come back to the middle again, that's when it's going to nail you. So actually thinking about it, no, don't run in zigzags, just run. Which animal has the most legs? Well,
centipede!
My candidate would be this. This is a giant millipede. So the millipedes and centipedes are in the same invertebrate group.
So cool, dude. Look at them walk. Oh.
A giant millipede. So the millipedes and centipedes are in the same invertebrate group, but they're very different. They're completely different in the way they live their lives. Millipedes have far more legs. They have double the amount of legs per body segment than centipedes.
See, like, this makes sense to me. Now you chop those off, it's a snake. How does it move?
Do. And the very biggest of these can get to have well over 1,000 legs. This one here has 240. I know because my friend Mark counted them all. They have this thick armor.
How'd you get them to stay still?
Protects them from predators, and they also secrete a substance which contains cyanide from their...
Dude, imagine taking a bite out of that thing. Oh. Imagine you just bite its head off, bro. That shit probably pops like a grape. Ugh.
Leg joints. So you most certainly would not want to try and eat one.
Oh, wait, they're poisonous?
So you also secrete a substance which contains cyanide from their leg joints. So you most certainly would not want to try and eat one. What's the worst place you've gone to the toilet? So I was filming harpy eagles in a jungle in South America, and I was 4 days sleeping up a tree filming this harpy eagle. And because it was...
Worst place I've ever taken a shit was... I've never shit outside. I shit in a log cabin in the woods for a trip. Sophomore year of high school. And it was like 8 guys to a cabin and only 1 bathroom. So guys would shit outside. I would just wait. And I would make sure that in the morning I would get up earlier than everybody else so I could take a dump. And I've told this story, but we had to go on this trip. Like, every day we would leave the cabin and go do, like, wilderness shit. So we had to get on the bus. And somebody, like, walking through the woods stepped on another guy's shit. And while we're, like, he was just like, oh, I stepped in poop. He was, like, an awkward kid. Nice guy, but he was like, oh, I stepped in shit. Continues to just get on the bus with human feces on his shoes. One of the kids in a grade above me, who I ran track with, was like, fuck no. Yelled at the kid to take his shoes off, and then fucking took him out of the bus and either threw him out or fucking put him on another bus. And he was like, well, now I have no shoes. I was like, dude, it reeked. It smelled like fucking human feces.
Was there with the chick on the nest, and we didn't want to disturb it. We weren't going up and down the whole time. We were sleeping up the tree. And on the first night, I was in my hammock at the top of this rainforest giant tree when I felt my stomach go, and I knew that I was in trouble.
Oh, dude, you're all the way on the hammock, though? Yeah, I'm pulling my pants down, leaning over the hammock, and just fucking hitting a waterfall right off the... One of those, you feel it in your stomach, you're like, this is diarrhea. This is, if I fart, I think I'm going to piss out of my ass.
And for some reason, I thought, no, I'm going to tough it out. I'm not going to go down. I'm going to stay up here. So I kind of got my harness and I squeeched it down to my the back of my legs and put my backside out the back of my hammock and basically squirted like a bird for about 2 or 3 hours. Out the back of my hammock.
2 or 3 hours? 2 or 3 hours, bro? Oh my God, he had like this stomach flu. Bro. I thought it was going to be like a one and done. 2 or 3 hours just hanging over animals. So you just shit on top of some animal walking in the fucking jungle.
Until finally, 2 o'clock in the morning, I was like, this is just awful. I'm dying here, so I've got to descend. Unfortunately, I had to descend down the ropes that were right by my hammock that I had basically pebble dashed for the last couple of hours. So by the time I got down to the bottom, I was in no state to, to meet anybody else. Nobody wanted to come anywhere near me. It was horrific. What you do if someone is bitten by...
And I doubt he had toilet paper up in the hammock with him, you think? He probably had to descend with, like, shit in his ass. And when you have a diarrhea shit like that in an awkward position, dude, your whole fucking... You need a bidet, man. At that point, you're just, like, your whole butt's covered in fucking poop, dude. That's so gross.
By a snake. Number one thing is keep them calm. So if you are to become agitated and your heart rate increases, then you speed the process of venom around the body. Apply a pressure bandage, not a tourniquet, but a pressure bandage. Usually a bite is going to be to the lower limbs, to the ankles or feet. So bandage around the lower limb to prevent the spread of venom from the site. Do not go after the snake itself. Do not try and suck the venom from the wound. Get that person to hospital as quickly as you possibly can. And, you know, the vast majority of times, if you can do that quickly, then their chances of survival are very good. If, on the other hand, you...
I'm just not staying calm. Like, I told you all about how I almost got bit by a fucking rattlesnake in Wyoming. And that was really scary because we were, like, an hour away from a hospital. And we were in, like, a 4x4 in, like, the middle of Wyoming. You did not tell us that. Yeah, I did. I was on a trip in Wyoming, and we were in, like, the mountains. We're in a 4x4, and we're just, like, chilling, talking. We're talking about mountain lions and how they, like, live around here. I was like, that could be scary. And we had a gun, just in case. Like, and then we're, like, literally 20 miles from, like, the nearest house. We're really far out. And we see this metal pipe just in the middle of the rock, like on top of a mountain. And I'm like, what the fuck is that? So we go up to it, and there's a bush next to it. And I'm looking down the pipe. And I start, like, as we're looking, I hear... And I'm like, for like 3 seconds, I'm like, what the fuck is that? And then I go, oh! And then I run. I literally go, oh, fuck. And I jump out. And then he runs too. And we see, like, one peeking its head out from the bushes. And it turns out there's, like, a family of them. And he's like, we got to kill him. We got to kill him. They're a nuisance. I'm like, okay. So he tries to shoot one. They all go into their hole, and then we leave. But I was like, dude, if I got bit, we would have died. Or I would have died. And I'm like, I'm not staying calm in that situation. I get bit by a fucking rattlesnake. I'm just, bro, I'm like, at that point, I'm going, GG's, man. GG's, man. Don't even bring me to the hospital, bro. Just fucking, let me just sit and bask in this for a fucking minute or two.
Wound open and panic and charge around like crazy, then, you know, there's a lot of snakes that can kill you and do it pretty quickly.
Let me Google that. How long does rattlesnake venom take to kill you? Oh, 6 to 48 hours? Oh, you're good. Immediate medical care is needed between 30 minutes and an hour. Extreme cases, you could die within 2 hours. Yeah, my heart rate would probably spike to about fucking 180.
Tell if an animal is dangerous. That's a harder subject than you might think. There's an awful lot of animals that give you a real show of being dangerous, but might not necessarily have what it takes to back that up. A really good example would be this. So this is a milk snake, and it has these lurid, bright, dramatic colours. It's got red, black, and yellow. And the reason for that is that in the same area that this snake lives in is a highly, highly venomous snake, a coral snake in the cobra family, that has the same coloration. So effectively, you know, all other animals will see this and go, ah, coral snake, do a runner, and they'll leave it alone. So it's managed to be safe from predators while not having to go through the whole energy expenditure thing of generating venom for itself. And so mimicry, like this, is remarkably common in nature. You have so many different animals that are totally harmless, but are just doing a really good job of faking it. And this milk snake is one of those. Ironically, some of the snakes in this group are the most dangerous to other snakes and only feed on snakes, but to everything else, they are completely harmless. Mimicry is one of the most intriguing, elegant solutions in nature. In which
you get sold a milk snake on the black market, turns out to be a coral snake. You just get fucked.
Which interaction with an animal were you most scared? Despite the fact that I've been doing this for more than 25 years, the amount of scary interactions I've had have been few, and they're most often with big animals. So they're things like hippos and rhinos, and I had one particular one with an elephant on the border with Zimbabwe and Mozambique, and that was in about 1998. We were on foot. There weren't any big trees around, and we got charged by a single bull elephant. And he came from a good couple hundred meters away, came at us, making all the noise in the world, flapping his ears, trunk all over the place. And he got to within about 5 meters of us, of myself and the camera crew, and then stopped. And it was a mock charge, but it didn't feel like one. And if he had decided to follow through with it, then, you know, there's no way that any of us would have survived. We would have been...
Seems like he's getting into a lot of near-death scenarios. I feel like we got to plan out these adventures a little bit better.
Is there any truth to the theory that global warming will bring more dangerous creatures to Britain? Yes, yeah, absolutely. I think at the moment it's fairly apocryphal, but there's no doubt that we've had bigger smacks of certain kinds of jellyfish in our seas over the summers than we've had in the past. Whereas the Portuguese man o' war used to be a 1 in a million sighting, all of a sudden they're washing up on our beaches in quite large numbers. The spread of the false widow spider, which admittedly has been here for a very long time, but is heading...
What do British beaches look like? I feel like they're probably like as bad as the Jersey Shore. There's no way this is in the UK. This looks fucking sick. This is a UK beach. Where is this? That's awesome. I doubt that that's Cornwall. Where is Cornwall? Is that like south? Yeah, it's on the tip. On the very tip of the UK. But that's not where like most people live. London Beach. Wait, no, London's not... Like, what's a beach near London? Because London's not on the water, right? Be like Southend, Whitstable. They don't even have beaches. Southend Sea. Southend Sea Beach, UK. This is like a more realistic beach. Ah, it's like the Jersey Shore. It's like the Jersey Shore. Okay. Yep. It could be good on some days, but overall fairly depressing.
Heading further and further north and becoming more and more common, and is now one of our most regularly seen spiders around the house, is, you know...
Wow, dude, getting stung by a man-o'-war after you eat your fish and chips. Terrible vibes.
Only going to be exacerbated as our temperatures rise. And then, of course, the biggie is going to be whether the malarial mosquito reaches here or whether malaria with mosquitoes reaches here. And that could happen...
Malaria? Can we get vaccinated for that?
Very soon. So yeah, I mean, it's not the biggest conundrum of climate change around the world, but it's definitely a possibility.
No? What do you mean, no? You can get vaccinated for malaria. Yeah, there's vaccines for malaria. There's no malaria vaccine for travelers. Prevention relies on medication and bite prevention. It is wild that half of the people who have ever lived have died of malaria.
Have you ever swam naked with sharks? Do you know what I have? Weird as it may seem, I did a program for kids a long time ago now, and we were in shark-infested, great white shark-infested waters in South Australia, and I was being dragged behind the boat to demonstrate the streamlining of sharks, or tuna, I think it was. And as I was being dragged along on this rope alongside the boat, it ripped my shorts off. So I was being dragged along behind the boat on camera, absolutely starkers, in highly shark-infested seas. Yeah, not the smartest move in my career. Who would win in a fight?
Brother, this is like the fourth story this video where you talked about almost dying. I mean, like, why are we doing that? To demonstrate a tuna to you guys, I'm gonna go troll myself behind a boat like you would do if you're fishing when people tend to catch sharks. That's what we're gonna do today.
You, Ross Kemp, or Bear Grylls? Oh no, Ross.
Wasn't Bear Grylls like a half of his shit's like phony? I don't know who this dude is. Half of like Bear Grylls videos are like fake.
Kemp is practically my neighbour and a good friend. Bear is another very good friend. So I don't know. I mean, Ross does a lot of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and he's a big guy. Bear, you know, has a military background, super, super highly trained. I cannot believe I'm answering this question seriously. It's me, it's obviously me. What's scarier, a great white shark or a saltwater crocodile, and why?
Saltwater crocodile. I would be more scared okay, I don't know. If I was in the water, I think, like, socially instilled, I'd be more afraid of the great white shark, but I would be in way more danger with the crocodile. And just, like, dude, imagine being in, like, murky ass water and you just see its eyes. Like, it's like 50 feet away. You're, like, trying to cross a river. Then you just see its eyes peek up, and then it submerges. And you're like, fucking just trying to sprint across. Bro, that would be just GG's. I'd be like, I don't know where the fuck it is. How are you going to defend yourself? A shark, it's like, okay, yeah, maybe I can, like, jab it in its gills, and I can at least see where it's coming from, face it.
So I have dived with both great whites and big crocs outside the cage, and there is no comparison. The great white shark is a relatively predictable animal, and if you can keep your eyes on it and you know where it's going,
that's what I'm saying. Like, it usually wouldn't like, if you face it, I feel like it's always more curious than, like, aggressive.
Generally avoid you to get to food that's behind you. They'll swim around you to get a food item that's over your shoulder. And one of the critical things is, if you can keep your eyes on them, even if they do start coming towards you, a hefty bump on the snout with your camera, their snouts are so sensitive that they will just take it and swim away. Whereas a big crocodile, were you to bump that with your camera, it would snap and savage you. So I don't think there's any comparison. I think big sharks are far, far less scary than big crocodiles underwater.
What did it for me was when I saw a video of a crocodile death roll another crocodile's leg clean off, eat it, and then they both just went on with their day. Like, it didn't care. Like, I was just like, whoa, that's normal. Do they regrow limbs? They can regenerate a limited structured portion of their tails, but not their limbs. So that guy just got fucked.
How do animals camouflage themselves? So many different ways. I mean, this is an area that we call crypsis in science. And you can have everything from just the color. So this rat snake has a kind of green coloration that would blend into the trees and the bushes that it lives in. But it goes one further, because if you look at the end of the snout, there's a protuberance which kind of looks a little bit like the end of a leaf. And certainly if you add the shape of the head to that as well, it could easily blend in with leaves. And that's obviously perfect for becoming one with your surroundings, therefore being much less visible to prey. And also, for an animal like this, when it's small at least, to predators too. So it's a double-edged sword. It protects you from being eaten while giving you the chance to get yourself a good lunch.
Bro, it's pissing me off he's all clumped up like that. Like, I want him to, like, untangle himself. Like, why is he doing that? Why is he doing that?
At least to predators too. So it's a double-edged sword. It protects you from being eaten while giving you the chance to get yourself a good lunch. This is known as the rhino rat snake for obvious reasons, because it's got that protuberance on its snout. And that's just one of a million different ways that animals have of blending into their background. Have you witnessed the effects of climate change in your career? Like so much. It drives me bananas that in this country we still have a lot of people who are climate change deniers. Whereas if you were to go up into the Arctic, it is a visible, actual part of everyday life. It is something that you see all around you all the time. Likewise, you know, I've spent quite a lot of time on the low-lying Indian Ocean, Pacific Ocean islands in recent years, and they're counting the years until they are underwater. You know, this is not something that only occurs on the pages of a newspaper or in some statistical report that people never read. It is reality. And particularly in the Arctic, local people will say, in the last couple of years, we've had insects turning up that no one even has a name for, fish in our sea that we've never seen before, and ones that we've had for the last 4,000 years that we don't see anymore. Our ice is forming later, it's breaking up earlier. Up there was a glacier in 2005, it's not there anymore. Up there was a glacier all the way back to, you know, through thousands of years, and it's not there anymore. Climate change is a reality. You know, here is one of the few places where it's still...
Damn, dude. That's like really upsetting. I mean, obviously we all know about climate change and like global warming in general, but it's like, is there a point where it stops and then starts to like reverse or heal or get better? I know some people say like the ozone layers healing itself, but like, is there a point where, maybe not in our lifetimes, but like where island nations start to get submerged to a point where like they have to actually move to mainland countries? And then at that point, like, you have to change how you live everyday life. Storms get worse. Certain areas become actually just uninhabitable, even on land.
Something that we struggle to get a
We're just getting hit with, like, fucking hurricanes every goddamn week.
On. And that's one of the reasons why we still have climate science deniers. Why do female insects eat the males after sex? It's actually kind of rare. It's not just insects. So, you know, the ones that are best known are the praying mantises and then certain kinds of spider, like the redbacks and the...
You think they know that's going to happen? Like the male praying mantis? Like, is he like getting it on, like, I'm probably going to be dead in, you know, maybe like 5 minutes?
The widow spiders. And, you know, pure and simple, it is protein. There are some other kinds of spiders that will present gifts to their mate as they're approaching copulation. Others that will literally offer themselves to be eaten as a gift to the female. So she's getting a protein meal, so she has more chance of being able to raise viable youngsters. It doesn't happen all the time. You know, I used to breed praying mantises, and I would...
He presents himself to be eaten to ensure their survival, bro. That's crazy.
Say, you know, 90 times out of 100, the mating would either happen or not happen, and there be none of the nasty, grim, grotesque consumption post-coitus. But when it does happen, it is the most grisly, macabre, stomach-churning, and yet absolutely riveting thing you'll ever see. You absolutely cannot take your eyes off it. And I'm aware that as I'm saying this, I am sounding like a total psychopath. Who is your greatest hero? I'm going to be obvious and say Sir David. I think that he is the...
Bro, David Attenborough has been like the nature guy in just like modern history. Like he's like 101 now. David, to put that in perspective, David Attenborough was in his 60s in the 80s. That's wild. David Attenborough was born in 1926. He's almost 100. He's 99. I feel like people don't understand how wild that is to live that long. Like most people in their 60s are like, oh, I'll be dead in like 10 years. Like, bro, in the 80s, he was receiving pension. Like, that are we like he could access his 401k in the 80s.
And his tone of voice, his sense of how a story works, of where to put the hooks and where to, you know, draw you in is unparalleled. He is an extraordinary human being, one that I'm very, very lucky to have worked with in the past. And yes, he is absolutely my inspiration. The most dangerous British animal is almost certainly the cow. At particularly times of year when you've got female cows that have calves, they can be very protective and they will quite often charge if they feel that they're threatened. And then obviously...
That's the most dangerous animal in all of the UK.
A big bull is an animal that is not to be trifled with.
But there's a fucking farm animal.
There's a handful of people killed by cows here in the UK every single year. And, you know, they are, without question, an animal that has to be taken very, very seriously. If you're out walking in the countryside, particularly if you've got a dog with you, always be vigilant, and particularly around about, you know, spring sort of time, when the animals are most likely to be grumpy. What's your opinion on zoos? Very different to what many people would expect. I have the great privilege of being able to spend my life in the world's most exotic places, filming the world's most exotic animals. For me to have a negative response to zoos when they are the first and sometimes the only way that a lot of people get to see some kinds of exotic animals, I think would be unconscionable. I have to know that zoos can have a massive role to play in getting people excited about wildlife, and I certainly see it with my kids. You know, they've switched on to animals that they've seen for the first time in zoos.
I feel like it's when a zoo is either helping rehabilitate animals or animals that aren't fit for survival. Like, if you have a lion or something that, like, if you released it back into the wilderness, it would die. Just keep it in a zoo. Right? That, or like, I feel like zoos are always worse for predatory animals. When you see animals that, like, get eaten, they usually don't give a shit that they're in a zoo. It's always, like, animals that are, like, meant to be roaming and hunting that just get, like, fed that are, like, severely depressed.
And now want to go out and see and protect in the wild. And there are zoos and zoos as well. You know, there are zoos that have an appalling approach to animal management and are definitely negative for the animals that are kept there. And then there are others for whom conservation is their main focus and do incredible conservation work both here and around the world. So I am very, very divided in the way that I approach zoos, but I certainly don't condemn them out of hand. And in many cases, I think they can be an incredibly positive thing. Oh, last question. Next animal to go extinct. That's a stinker. There are animals going extinct all the time.
Oh my God, what's the one animal that lives in or off the coast of California? I just learned about it, didn't even know that it existed. A Vaquita. There are like 10 of them that exist. They're like these weird dolphin-like creatures. And I had never heard of them until like maybe a month ago. 2 months ago. Look at that. They're like tiny little dolphin creatures. There's only like 5 of them.
That we, you know, may not be aware of. There are many that are kind of poster childs for conservation that will, without question, go within the next couple of years. Probably the saddest of those is the Vaquita, which is the world's smallest kind of whale or dolphin. It's a.
I learned about that. I learned about that shit like a month ago.
Is about.
That's not a pre-watch. It's not a pre-watch.
That big.
It's big news, chat. I keep up with animal extinctions.
So it's not much bigger than your average puppy dog. And they live in the Sea of Cortez in Mexico. They have...
Somebody in chat said the white rhino. Yeah, isn't there... The white rhino is an animal that's... There's like 2 in captivity, but they're both male or female, so they just like can't reproduce.
Been destroyed by the trade for the swim bladder of a fish called the totoaba, which is used in traditional medicines, has absolutely no function whatsoever, and yet trade in this ridiculous thing, a swim bladder. It's, you know, it's nothing. It's a box inside a fish which can achieve nothing in medicine. Targeting that has almost eradicated this phenomenal Vaquita porpoise, which will go extinct soon. By most sort of ideas, there's probably 10 animals left. You know, they could be gone already. So it's incredibly sad, but that is not going to be the last animal to go extinct by any means.
I always wonder, too, without, like, wildlife conservation effects, like, there are populations of animals that reach, like, as low as, like, 40 or 50 and then regenerate, but it's like, how do they even find each other in the ocean? Like, if you're one of 10 Vaquitas, it's like, how do you even find a mate, you know? That far out with that little? That was a good video, though. I gotta piss that we're hopping to the next video. Count me down, 30 seconds.